All right. Thank you for staying with us. This leg of the conversation is about the push by Nigeria for a seat at the United Nations Security Council, which is quite a big deal, by the way. And that was part of the conversation, or the speech of Mr. President that was delivered by Kashim Shettima, his vice yesterday. We just allow you to have a hang of part of what he said, in New York yesterday.
Some permanent members of the United Nations Security Council have offered encouraging, if tentative, indications of support on the issue of reform of the Council. We welcome the change in tone and urge an acceleration in momentum to the process. The Security Council should be expanded in the permanent and non-permanent member categories to reflect the diversity and plurality of the world. We fully support the efforts of the Secretary General Guterres in this regard. Africa must be accorded the respect that it deserves in the Security Council. Our continent deserves a place in the permanent members category of the Security Council with the same rights and responsibilities as other permanent members. Mr. President, your assumption of the stewardship of the General Assembly presupposes that you will be seized with the progress of the implementation of the UN Sustainable Development Goals.
All right, that was President Tinubu, having his speech delivered by his vice Kashim Shettima in New York at the ongoing United Nations General Assembly, talking about a seat, and in fact, not just a seat at the permanent member category of the Security Council. To help us with this conversation, we have been joined by a very highly reputable security analyst, Dr. CHUKS MAHA. Thank you for joining us, Doctor.
Thanks, a pleasure.
All right, you just heard, and I know you are following the conversation in New York about Nigeria's push, for Africa, especially to have a seat at the permanent seat category of the United Nations Security Council, especially here in Nigeria. And how do you react to that? Do you think really that's the way to go? We are due for that.
I will make for 16 answer. If the answer is yes, then I will say you are ready for it.
Oh dear, it appears we're having some challenge with the audio. We'll try and reconnect with Dr. MAHA again. This is a conversation that, Nigeria making that audacious and bold move on behalf of the continent. And I think, by the way, I don't have a say at this point, but then it will be a good one. But, it's natural for you to think maybe it's unfair for the whole of the continent not to have a seat at that kind of a table.
Yes, and having this conversation is also to know what it will mean for the country. Yeah. What do we tend to gain? What will be our responsibility? What will be our duty? Because I know it's definitely going to come with some responsibilities, even though we will have some things to gain from it. And that is why we're having this conversation with Dr. CHUKS MAHA, so you can let us know what is in for us as a country, as a continent, and also what should we be looking forward to, being a permanent, member of this United Nations Security Council. In the debate, the arguments preferred by the Minister of Defense, Muhammad Badari, saying that Nigeria as a country have contributed to peacekeeping missions globally. It puts the number at 41, and it says that they have deployed over 200,000 Nigerian troops in the UN operations, and so it deserves a seat on the global security organ. So I'm sure that argument will be considered. Whether it is good enough is what we do not know here.
So many peacekeeping nations that Nigeria has really come out big. I remember the Liberia, the Sierra Leone, we have always been playing the big brother role, but then that seat at where it matters most. By the way, let's put this there, that the Security Council of the United Nations has 15 members, and 5 permanent members. Interesting. 5 permanent members, and these 5 permanent members have the veto power. You want to talk about China? France, Russian Federation, United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland, and of course, expectedly, United States of America. So, North America has 1, Europe has 3, and then China, that's Asia, has 1. 1 for China, for Asia, 1 for North America, represented by the US, and of course, Europe has 3, France, Russia, and the UK. All right, Dr. Ma, can you hear us? Oh, all right. We'll try. And then, apart from the 5 permanent members, we now have 10. I said it's a 15 member. Then we have 10 non-permanent members. And these non-permanent members are the ones that are voted, I think every 2 years or thereabout. Then you have Algeria to 2025, Ecuador to 2024, Guyana 2025, Japan 2024, Malta 2024, Mozambique 2024, Republic of Korea 2025, Sierra Leone 2025, Slovenia 2025, Switzerland 2024. Maybe the tenure of these nations are the Security Council seat, the non-permanent members. Of course, when you see Algeria, Mozambique, Sierra Leone, Slovenia, Malta, with due respect to them, you feel, oh, Nigerians can do better. But maybe that's why Vice President Kashim Shettima is talking about the permanent seat, the permanent members rather, on that seat, not the voting category that comes with 2 years and 2 years. But, one would say that would be a tall order. But then maybe they can always be extended, maybe. He's talking about the expansion, actually.
Yeah, Femi,
not to remove these other nations, but to have an expansion.
Femi, you mentioned that it was an audacious move by Nigeria,
like
by
one.
Mr. President, on behalf of Nigeria and on behalf of the continent, considering the countries on the permanent seats. You called Nigeria that we have always been playing the big brother, but these are the biggest guys on the seat. And you would want to ask the question, do we have what these countries have? Do we even have half of what they have when it comes to security? So I believe it's an audacious move. Is it a good one? That's what should be the question now. Dr. Maha, are you back with us?
Yes, I think so.
All right, so we're asking you about that audacious move by Nigeria, calling, making a call for them, a case for them to be a member, for the country to have proper representation in the United Nations Security Council. What's your take on that? What's your impression of this call?
Yes, there's no doubt about that we're bullish on our approach to request for certain incidents. But one thing I want us to know is that what brought about this security council, the first incident, was simply a function of the aftermath of civil war. Right? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Go ahead.
Okay, good. So the foundation of all this, we must bear in mind the consequences I said earlier. The responsibilities, obligations, and rights of members. The fact no members of these rights, we all like you mentioned earlier, and because the program, you mentioned China, France, Russia, UK, and the US. They have certain things in common. They all fought against each other the war that was won. Of course, when it was sharing program, the spoils of war, they agreed on certain settlements. That's why Japan, these two countries are not permanent members of the United Nations Security Council. Because the federal system was once back war. But we are saying, why we want to become a member of this council? Why? Because Nigeria will connect. They come to the youth house, of which I don't think we are going to be having us now. Yes, it is true. The Minister of Defense said that we all become one nations, Nigerian, military and police are well exposed to peace making. But we have the rights. Let me just take this for example, on the benefit of years. There's no forms. We have 5 parameters for verifying. Financial strength and capability. do we as a country, 2024, our president went down, sent his plea for debt forgiveness. We cannot, on one hand, plead for debt forgiveness, and at the same time, we better to play the role that people we must take a stand. Which one are we? No, we end up being a massive stop. That's one. When to go, financial companies, we have to consider resource to ensure that we have an automated group of income coming from the nation. They subsidize for it, what's subsidies. I don't think financially very for that. That's the issue. The second parameter is military strength.
You can hear me. Can you hear me?
In Africa, yes.
Yeah, Dr. Maha.
Depends on finance of military in Africa. But have they been tested?
All right. Dr. Ma, I'm not sure if actually you can hear me. That audio.
We're getting an uncomfortable feedback.
Yeah, it's the feedback is not good. But then we'll find time properly and speak about these maybe before the end of the week, if time permits, maybe tomorrow to have these. We sincerely apologize for that poor connection. All right, this is where we draw the table. You know, it's a conversation that we should have, and we should really properly have it with the right connection and the right feed. You know, quite audacious, if you ask me.
Yeah.
Not because we are not fit. A 64-year-old country, you know, should be able to do a lot more better. You know, but considering, you know, the choice of the nations, the caliber of nations I talked about. France, UK, China, US, and France, or thereabout, Russia, you know. These are the nations. Yeah, I want to be very sure. Yeah, Russia, France, China, UK, and the US. But then maybe it's wise, really, because the Vice President talked about the expansion. So it's not that remove one for us. It's talking about maybe it can be expanded. They don't have to be 5. Actually, and Africa deserves a place.
And if I can make sense of what a little bit of what Dr. Maha said before we had to let him go, he's saying we have to pick one. We are going to the UNGA to ask for debt relief. Then we are still going to make a call for us to have a representation at the UNSC. You cannot be both. It's either you're big or you're big. You cannot play small and still want to be big. I mean, that's the angle is coming from. But like you said, we should have another conversation with
urging and begging on one
exactly.
side. Then you want to play big.
Exactly.
Really,
so
we should have this conversation.
We should have this conversation with him.
Yeah.
And of course, we hope before the end of the week ends tomorrow. We hope we can bring Dr. CHUKS MAHA back on board. But thank you so much for being a part of our world today. We appreciate you for joining us on the Thursday edition of Morning Spring. We'll make a return tomorrow for the final edition this week. And of course, it's the TGIF. My name is Evelyn Ohiolei. And of course, Spring Trends come right after this broadcast.
All right, Femi Ojo is my name, and just like Dr. CHUKS MAHA whispered, maybe you don't have to play small and play big at the same time. But then, whatever you do, please stay alive. We'll be back tomorrow, God willing. Special thanks to the production team. You can have a recap of this program on our YouTube channel at Western Spring TV. See you.